It's me, Galen. Galen's got Parkinson's. Coming up to New Year now, but Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm going to look at the 6th day of Christmas as a battle. I've been doing a series where I've looked at each of the 12 days of Christmas, considering each as a war game that you could have over this period. And I've scaled them down, I've changed them, so you don't have to say, oh, I don't have those figures, or that's a big number, or I've tried to make it a little playable game that you could have with your friends over the holiday period. So today's battle, for example, is actually based on the Battle of Wakefield in the Wars of the Roses, December the 30th, 1460. Yorkists versus Lancastrians. For some reason, the Yorkists under Richard, who was the Duke of York, and his son Edmund, were in a castle near the River Calder, a place called Sandal Castle. They were perfect position. No one was in a situation where they could take the castle. They weren't under siege. They had plenty of supplies. The period between Christmas and New Year, historically, certainly in medieval times, was a time of truce. People didn't fight. Civil wars are always a bit different to that, aren't they? Because people will do odd things in civil wars. But historians are not 100% sure why. It might have been overconfidence on Richard's part. It might have been bad intelligence telling him that the Lancastrians could be overcome. For whatever reason, Richard leaves Sandal Castle and he attacks the Lancastrians. Lancastrians are far better prepared than he knows. And a lot of them aren't even visible because they're hiding in woods and forests. The rivers are all icy. The only way to cross are by fords. There's no bridges. The Lancastrians look to Richard on the ground as if he outnumbers them. The truth is, there are a lot of Lancastrians in forests who emerge in his flanks and his rear, and he is soundly beaten. He himself is killed along with his son. His head is placed with a little festive note on a spike in York. Ho, ho, ho. I don't know if anybody put a little Santa hat on it. I've been a Yorkshireman. Somebody probably did. Apple in his mouth. Now, I'm not doing that as a big Wars of the Roses battle. I actually have a 10mm medieval battle army. I could do it as a big battle, but I don't want to do that. That's not the point of this. What I want to do is to let you have a battle that's scaled right down. I'm going to do this as a 28mm skirmish using Test of Honour, and using very few figures in reality, probably more than the 24 points you'd get in a usual Test of Honour game, but not a lot more. Also, the Lancastrian ambush I've limited to 1 unit, and I'm not guaranteeing that that's going to come on. I'm going to, at the moment it's got a 6 next to it, and for the first turn, if I throw a 6, it appears. But I don't want to just do that thing where you go, right, next move it's a 5, and then it's a 4, and then it's a 3, because it will definitely come on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a dice, and whatever I get on the dice is the lowest that timer on the dice can go to. So if I threw a 5, I would always have to get a 5 or a 6. If I get a 1, it's going to come on. It's going to come on next time. So I don't know what's going to happen until I start the game. Don't think there's much more I need to say than that. I'll let you have a quick look at it. So this is Richard's view as he arrives and starts to cross the ford. In the trees to the right, the yellow forces are the ambush. I've thrown a dice for what they need to come on. First time they're going to need a 6, so I'm going to throw that now. It's not a 6, I got a 4, but I've thrown a dice for what they need in future, and I've thrown very low. I've thrown 2, so the chances are they are going to come on. Unless I keep throwing 1s, that's going to be big trouble for the Yorkists. I'm going to have turn 1 now, and then I'll come back to you and we'll talk through what's happened. Richard is racing across the ford in an effort to get his troops deployed as quickly as possible. The Lancastrians in the white at the top of the picture are being far more cautious. Turn 2 has gone very well for the advancing samurai and Japanese of the White Rose, the ones in front of us. They're managing to cross the river and deploy. They've sent their missile troops to the front. Their shooting and fire from the arquebus has caused casualties, more casualties than the defenders have been able to inflict upon them. And as regards the potential reinforcements, I needed to get 2 or more. Guess what? I threw a 1. Turn 3 has seen the activation of the reinforcements in the forest. The White Rose have sent an elite unit into the forest to try and eliminate that flanking attack, and they sent some support. The exchange of missile fire is resulting in more casualties now. Both sides inflicting relatively heavy damage, in as much as people are taking 2 or 3 casualties a turn, and they don't have the men to spare. Oh, it's not a lot of casualties, but as a percentage of what they have to fight with, it is getting rather more serious. Well, history might be about to be rewritten. The White Rose have just scored 4 casualties on the Red, who even tried to charge a cavalryman in to do something to break up the missile fire. And the elite unit blocking the flank attack is also inflicting casualties and making progress to halt the reinforcing Red Rose troops. Well, that was interesting. The elite unit of the White Rose managed to cut its way into the forest, but as they defeated the peasant swordsman in front of them, they found themselves facing a clearing with archers, who then had 3 shots and killed 3 of the elite troopers, which has decimated them. I mean, they are decimated. In the centre, however, the missiles of the Red Rose are now extinct. They've gone. They have sent an elite unit racing forward, but they, numbers-wise, they're probably about equal. The Red Rose have got more elite in the middle, but the White Rose have got more missiles. The White Rose have got more spearmen, but the Red Rose have got cavalry. Oh. If you counted up the number of figures, it's probably about equal. The forces of the Red Rose have been decimated in the main part of the battle, which, had there not been any reinforcements, would justify the White Rose commander's decision to leave the castle. However, the unit arriving in the forest, which are going to arrive as reinforcements, have now cleared the way through to join the battle from the flank. The White Rose forces committed themselves to a desperate charge, and even though they were at an advantage in a number of the melees, have been cut down. And over in the forest clearing, the reinforcements are using archers to try and clear out the final archers who are holding them up, and despite having 3 shots, failed completely. And the battle concludes with a victory to the White Roses, which isn't what happened in history. The flanking attack is still there, but the central attack was failing so dramatically that the commander of the Red Rose flank attack, who would have been Percy in the actual battle, charged an infantryman and just threw a bad dice and was killed. Seeing the flank attack fail because their morale has now dropped through the floor, the White Rose commander himself, who the Lancastrian commander was Henry, he charged and he was killed. And what you can see there with the gold moon is the man who should have been killed, who in the real battle would have been Richard of York. So the gamble in my battle has paid off. The Yorkists have taken a gamble. They threw everything at the situation. It probably went as wrong as it possibly could as regards the flank attack. The idea of the game, as I say, is to have a quick, fun game that you can play with any type of figures. You could play it with Space Marines, you can play it with fantasy. The situation is always just the historic one, boiled down and distilled to give you an interesting tactical situation and maybe inspire you to learn about a battle period of history that you might not normally consider. That's certainly been true for me doing these videos about the 12 battles of Christmas, because I've come across battles and periods and scenarios that I'd not seen before, which is a little nice Christmas present from me to you and from me to myself. Ta-ra, Chuck!